Oh my God. What's up, y'all? I'm Reed the Fishmonger, back in the kitchen with the one and only Chef Omar. This guy is a bad to the bone chef, and we brought him over here because we just filleted up a gorgeous Kitty Mitchell grouper. You can check that video out right there. Don't want to miss it. We got all of the fun bits and pieces off of it. Each one of these is gonna have a little bit different of a cook time. So we got Omar over here to make sure we got a perfect cook on each one when we do our taste test. So I'm gonna pass it on over to him.
All right, guys, so it looks like here, we got little kitty cheeks, okay? Let's check that guy out. Wow. That is gorgeous. So look at that bloodline there.
Bright red, that's how you know how fresh that fish is.
Firm meats, beautiful.
Up next,
we got the kitty rib meat. Huh, all right.
if you've never had rib meat off of a grouper, again, check out that video where we're butchering up the fish and you know exactly where this comes from.
Oh, this guy's super thin. Look at that. Look at how flaky that would be too.
Oh yeah,
wow.
You can see those big flake lines right there.
Wow. That's gonna be a good cut right there.
Each one of those lines is actually where the rib was.
Up next, we got the collars.
You guys know that's gonna be my favorite cut right there. I love grouper collars. Collar meat on most fish is gonna be one of my favorite parts.
Take a look at that, guys. Super meaty, super dense, and almost steaky.
You know, not just anybody can throw a piece of fish in their hand and tell what it's gonna be like right away. That's why we're excited to have him in the kitchen with us.
Here we go, my favorite, guys, the belly.
Belly meat on a lot of fish is gonna be the fattiest part of the fish. But on Snowy, Yellow Edge, and Kitty Mitchell, it's actually not that fatty, which is
really
ironic because coming out of the cold water, the fillets are gonna be fattier than the shallow water groupers. But this right here isn't. The grouper that you're gonna get the fattiest belly off of is black grouper. And even though that's a shallow water fish, not coming out of the cold water, is gonna be the fattiest grouper we get in this area, and it mostly has to do with diet.
Wow.
Where the fat in that black grouper is marbling all throughout the fish, whereas the fat in the cold water fish, the fat is more encompassing because the fat is a protective layer from the cold water, whereas in the shallow water, they don't need that. So it's the fat in the black grouper is throughout the fillet.
Wow. What is their diet anyway? The Kitty Mitchell.
Kitty Mitchell grouper coming out of that super deep water.
Yeah.
They don't have the reefs to be eating off of. So these guys are largely eating shellfish and crustaceans, which is part of why it's so delicious.
Wow, that's gonna be really good flavor right there. And this guy, this says kitty on here. What is this guy?
Unlabeled package of meat. What is it?
What is this guy here?
Morsel.
Wow. What's this right here?
That is gonna be the meat that is off of the throat of the grouper.
The throat.
That's it, man. So when you pick up the chin of your grouper, right here, you've got a softer membrane. We make an incision on both sides, right underneath the chin. This gets released, and then you shave off the meat that is right around that throat. And that's what that is right there.
Wow. So this will be the delicacy. You know what, guys? We're gonna make this the dessert round right here. That guy right there.
It's also gonna be a surprise round. I personally have never cooked and tried that. So I'm excited. I'm about to get a first time ever when it comes to fish, which, when it comes to local species, does not happen often. But I gotta know, before we start throwing down in the kitchen, before you start throwing down in the kitchen, which piece are you the most excited to try and why?
I would say I'm actually gonna go for the throat. I'm excited to try that because one, I've never tried Kitty Mitchell throat. I've had Kitty Mitchell in general, and I want to see how this cooks up. I'm very curious.
Out of these portions right here, which one's the one you're most excited to try?
The collar. That's the way to go.
I'm right there with Chef Omar. I'm a big fan of grouper collars. Anyways, let's throw down in the kitchen, man.
Yeah, let's get started. So what we're doing is with our already seasoned cast irons, we're gonna get them hot and ready to go. We're gonna do a nice hard sear on the collars here. and everything else, the cheeks, the rib meat, the throat, we're gonna put that right in a shallow pan with some of that pork fat and some butter, and we're just gonna do like a nice shallow poach on them. These guys are the denser pieces, so these guys are gonna get a nice sear. What we're gonna do, starting off, while these are heating up, and by the way, I've got these oils, I've got these fats heating up in a nice low to like medium. I'm just gonna go ahead and start seasoning now. So we're not doing a full poach, we're doing a shallow poach. So I'm gonna go ahead and season right away. Some of these thinner pieces here, you just wanna season lightly, just enough to cover the surface area. These guys, the denser pieces, you wanna get a good amount of seasoning on that. And go ahead and hit that with that pepper too. So let's go ahead, nice hot pan, guys. Remember, when you're laying in something hot, lay it away from you, so you don't end up splashing on yourself. Just like that. Again, guys, I'm starting off with the medium to medium-high heat in my pan for the sear. You want to go with a high smoke point, oil, vegetable oil, or avocado oil. In which case, we're using a little bit of butter, mixed a little bit of pork fat. Right, now all my other pans here that you see, I got them on a low heat. We're gonna do a nice, gentle, shallow poach. Let's go ahead with this rib meat right in here. You hear just a gentle simmer in that.
Got those little bubbles going instead of those aggressive ones.
Go right in with these cheeks as well, right over here. Again, temperature control, heat control. What we're going for is a nice sear on the collars, a nice poach on the cheeks, the rib meat. I'm gonna go ahead and put that belly in right in.
Ooh, that belly is so pretty, man.
Again,
that looks
guys,
so good.
Be very careful. Lay it away from you. Never splash when you're working with oil. Gently lay it in there.
Tell us about like some of those scars you got going on from kitchen life, man.
Some of these scars, most of these scars are burns, random cuts.
Which one is the most gnarly one you've gotten?
I would say the most gnarly one was, I had one right on the top of my right hand. It was a 3rd-degree burn. I was actually reaching for something out of a salamander, and I didn't know that there was some little bit of fat that rendered out some oil. You know, it was in a rush. The person working next to me wanted me to help them out, so I grabbed it out of there, and unbeknownst to me, there's some oil there. Hit me with some almost 400-degree oil right on the top of my hand. The thing bubbled up like it was a beignet.
Yeah, you were crackling, bro.
Oh yeah. Again, guys, heat control. Let it sit there. Let it do its thing. Don't check on it too much. You just want to wait. Just look at the edges. Right in the edges where you start to see that little brown crust form along the edge. That's when you know you can lift it up and check it and flip it over. For me, I like more of like a nice brown crust on mine, so we're just going to leave that on there for another 2 minutes.
I'm right there with you, homie. I like that darker brown crust.
Yeah.
Get a little bit of that crunch in, especially on these cuts that are just full of flavor and fat. That crunchy outside with the fatty middle, that's money.
That is. We got the rib meat and we got the belly. Poaching gently, ever so gently there at the top. What I'm going to do is I'm not even going to flip that. I'm just going to carefully, like I said, cast iron handles get hot. Make sure you have a dry towel. Carefully lift that up to where all your fat and all your oil pulls to one side. We're just going to baste the other side of it. We're just going to continually baste that until this residual heat cooks it all the way through.
So that basting is helping cook the outside?
Absolutely.
Is that the main purpose, or is flavor also a part of this?
We're also imparting flavor. We're imparting a little bit more fat into this and cooking this gently. You only need to poach this because it's so thin on one side. So the other side, we can actually continue. Actually, you can see it's starting to become opaque. We're just going to keep doing that until it's nice and white. You can see how it's slowly being cooked.
You know Omar's cooking in those fancy kitchens when he says opaque instead of opaque.
These guys look like it might be right where we need them to be. What do you think?
Oh, dude, that looks perfect.
Let's flip that over. Let's see.
Yes, sir.
That's what we're going for right there.
If you get your grouper collars in a cast iron pan looking like that, I'm telling you what, it might be one of the best things you ever put in your mouth.
Now, when it comes to searing, again, guys, you want to go high heat, but you also want to control your heat. Even in the cast iron, you can very easily burn your food if you don't control it. Take that off. Just allow that guy to rest. That beautiful piece.
So you're treating that like a pork chop or a steak where you're letting it finish cooking off the pan.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Flip that collar over, that last piece.
Woo!
That's what we're looking for right there, guys.
For us, that is perfection.
I'm gonna go ahead and flip these cheeks right on over. As we see, you can see the color differentiation. One half is cooked. We're gonna go ahead and cook the other half in that shallow poach. You know, guys, listen, when you're dealing with fresh fish like this, less is more.
Amen to that, man. That is my mantra right there. You know, this fish is from Captain Clay and Son Seafood Market, hours out of the water, as fresh as it gets. Save all those crazy spices for when you're getting something that is not as luxurious as this.
So right here, I'm just gonna remove the rib meat right out of that pork fat. We're also gonna remove the belly, my personal favorite. All right, guys, so I'm gonna go ahead and take these guys right off. Set them right over here. Let's just look at how beautiful and plump these cheeks are. We all love a plump cheek.
Oh my God, man, that beats any charcuterie I've ever seen. And you guys, this right here, the throat meat under that Katie Mitchell grouper, check out that video of us cutting it out. It's gonna be right there again. Click it, check it out. I've never cooked this before. Chef Omar has never cooked this before. We're excited for a first ever. We've got a professional chef, a professional fishmonger. So to have something in the fish world that's a first ever for us is really exciting.
So we're gonna go ahead and lay that down. And we're just gonna do a hard sear on one side. Grab my fish spatula right here and just press that down so that doesn't curl up on me. What's gonna happen is something that thin, that's gonna curl up. Okay. I think that's where we want to be right there.
Oh, it's got a gorgeous crust on it, dude. You crushed that. Beautiful. All right, you guys. Chef Omar just cooked up Katie Mitchell grouper. We've got 5 different cuts that we're about to taste test, one of which we've never even had before. Super excited to taste test these and let you know what we find. And this is the piece right here. That's the throat that neither of us have ever tried before. We're gonna save that cut for last. All right, you wanna dive into the cheeks or the collars first?
Let's go right into the cheeks.
Right into the cheeks, man, I love it. Let's just go right for the same one. Yeah. Look at
that pulls apart like nothing. Look at that.
Fork tender, no knife needed. Look how juicy that is. Perfectly buttered poached. Cheers, my man.
Cheers.
Oh my God.
That's even more tender than the amberjack.
Dude, like, this isn't for clout. That was an honest reaction from a professional fishmonger and a professional chef. That was ridiculously good. This is rib meat, super underrated cut. It's a cut that often doesn't even get used. It's the meat underneath the rib cage of the fish. When you have larger fish, there's a nice thin layer of meat under there. Again, you can check out that video and watch it. It is just, you know, an awesome underutilized cut. And let's go check it out. Woo! Cheers.
Cheers.
It's so good.
And similar to the cheek, but just.
It's almost like a flatfish or a super thin snapper, but with grouper flavor.
Yeah.
Like it's got that like super flaky, delicate.
It's almost like a more delicate tile fish, almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't have that like fluffy texture that the fillet of a grouper has, but it does have that grouper flavor in that thin, flaky cut. That might be like a new member of my top list right there. That is really good.
That bird meat's really good, guys. Guys, definitely pursue that in the grouper.
All right, what are we thinking next? Belly?
Let's go right in.
Go right into the belly. All right, I'm gonna cut that corner off. Whew. Guys, again, look at that. Zero opaqueness, just white, juicy. You know this is gonna be banging. Cheers.
Cheers. Wow. Wow. Yeah, you're right. Definitely not as fatty as the amberjack, but super delicate. Super delicate. Almost steaky too.
It is light, mild, but I don't want to say flaky, because when you think of flaky, you think of those like, you know, big flakes you get in a yellowtail snapper, or those big fluffy flakes you get in the fillets of grouper and tilefish. It's stringy is insulting to the fish. It's not stringy, but it does have this more like fibrous texture while still being delicate at the same time. That is very good.
Yeah, for the belly, that's really interesting. That's good.
Awesome, man. Well, I know we're both stoked to get into these collars.
We go right towards the middle, right towards the meaty part. Look at that, guys. You can just see all that just dripping up there.
Oh, man. Dude.
Dude, cheers. Wow.
I mean,
there's nothing like it.
mm-mm.
There's nothing like it. Doesn't get any more fresh than that. I mean, just look at the white meat on there. That's fresh fish.
I don't know about you, man. I just feel blessed to even be eating fish like this.
Yeah.
It's a privilege. And I know you want to eat that crispy corner. So before we go on to the throat meat, go ahead and have at that crispy corner.
Let's do that.
I'm going to eat some more of this rib meat right here.
Man.
Cheers, my man.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Bro, people sleep on the rib meat. This is really good.
Honestly, I know you've asked me what I would pair with this. I'd eat this by itself. I don't need anything with it.
All right, man. You ready to try the piece of fish we've never tried before?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So you guys, there is a natural line right there, which was in the middle of the throat. And we're going to be pulling it apart right there. Look at that. This is going to be an experience, man. I'm excited. Man. First time. Here we go.
Cheers. Ooh.
Whoa. I didn't expect that.
Me neither. It's fatty.
Like really fatty.
Yeah. It's fatty, but it almost has the integrity of that.
It's got like almost like the stringiness of the belly a little bit,
that's
but
what I was
with
gonna say.
a lot more fat.
Yeah.
It's almost like the fat content you would want in the belly.
Mm-hmm. It's almost creamy. Wow.
Yeah.
Barely any chewing involved. Like that thing almost melted.
That was mind blowing.
Wow.
Dude, like, I'm speechless. That was
throat, guys. Got to go for the throat.
If you haven't tried it, like we haven't tried it until today, do yourself a favor. Find yourself a fishmonger that's willing to cut out throats. Or if you want to do it yourself, you're a fisherman, just watch some of the video that we did where we cut that out and learn how to do it. It's not that hard to cut out. You can do it. Well, Chef, now is the hardest part after trying 5 different parts of Kitty Mitchell grouper. I'm gonna have to ask you to do the hard job of rating them from 1st to 5th.
Okay. Number 1, I have to go with the cheeks. The cheeks was unlike anything I've ever tasted, any texture I've ever tasted. This thing was incredible. Super buttery, super light, very delicate, and just a very gentle poach, a shallow poach. That's amazing right there. that goes in at number 1 for sure. Number 2, immediately next, is the throat. That thing was unreal. I've never had anything like that.
Yeah, me either.
Dude, that was like, it was creamy. I wasn't expecting it to be as fatty as it was, and
No,
that's
me
right
either.
up my alley. I love fatty things. Number 3, let's go right into the belly. The belly was very interesting for me. Not as fatty as I expected it to be, but even more so better. And it was almost like steaky, if you will. It still kept its integrity, like you said, not super flaky, and I kind of like that. Yeah. I'd say next one up, the collar. The collar was amazing, unreal. Even that, the thickest part of the collar was so juicy, really juicy. And it's still almost, I would say the collar, it felt like the mouthfeel felt like the cheeks, and it also felt like the belly a little bit in one. You know,
Yeah.
it was super, super tender, super juicy. And then the rib meat. Now guys, like that rib meat, amazing. And that's all the amount of meat that you'd be able to get. That's almost like a delicacy. But the top, the cheeks,
Going
and the
cheeks.
throat for me.
Hey
all day.
man, and even though the rib meat went in at 5, I mean, you heard the man. He said it was still amazing. It's really splitting hairs here, figuring out which one we like the best. And what's mind-blowing is that these are all a part of the same fish, and each one is like eating a completely different animal.
Yeah.
Like they are all very different from each other. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and give my top 5, and so you guys know, usually cheeks are further down on my list because they're a leaner cut. And this time, for the first time ever, cheeks are getting the number 1 slot.
Wow.
That cheek, I don't know if it's because Kitty Mitchell cheeks are just substantially better. I'm sure it had to do with just you poaching it in butter to perfection. This man put love into making that a perfect cook. And I've never had a fish cheek that was as good as this. Ever, period, and I've eaten a lot of them. Number 2, I'm also going throat. Throat was actually almost number 1.
Wow.
Like,
yeah.
because I was like mind blown. It was almost like that surprise factor, like, made it jump up for me.
Yeah.
You guys, I'm not blowing smoke for the clout. Like, that throat morsel, he said, would you say silky?
It's silky.
I love chefs. They always come up with awesome words to describe food and the mouthfeel of the food, but it's a good word for it, man. It was silky. It was butter. Like, it was fish butter.
Yeah.
It was like, I don't know, what you would expect out of Otoro or something, man. It was just like straight butter, and it didn't look like it looking at it. And if you watch the video all the way through, when you heard us talking about it at the beginning, I don't think either of us, with all of our experience in seafood, would have expected it to taste like that.
Yeah.
So that's number 2. Number 3, which is often my number 1, were the collars. I love the collars. Omar got a crust to perfection on these guys, and they are just like meatier than the rest of the fish while still being fatty at the same time. And that's why I love cobia. If you've never had cobia, delicious fish. It's meaty and loaded with fat, and that's why people love it, and that's what you get out of the collars. Then number 4 is actually gonna be the rib meat.
Oh, wow.
It was light, mild, flaky. It was, I'd say the rib meat and the belly meat were probably the most similar to each other.
Yeah.
But the rib meat was a lighter texture. And I really enjoyed it for that thinner cut. And number 5, and it's not because it is not good, that is delicious fish, but belly is gonna get my number 5 slot. And it's because it actually had, it was delicious, but it wasn't as buttery as I expected a belly to be.
Yeah.
Even though we talked earlier about how yellow edge grouper, Kitty Mitchell grouper don't have the most buttery bellies, I still expected it to be juicier. And I mean, you cooked it perfectly. I mean, look at that, you guys. Like, the thing's still dripping. But it's the fibers in the fish that made it less tender than the rest of them, which is why it got the number 5 slot. But I tell you what, I'd come close to giving a limb to eat any one of these pieces of fish. This is top shelf seafood, and I feel blessed to be eating it. And I hope you guys learned something from this video. Omar, if there was anything out of today that you want the viewers to bring home from your experience, what would it be?
Honestly, guys, when you're cooking, cook from your heart. Take your time and really just get to know your style, what you like. And like I said, simple things done well. No need to overcomplicate it. Everything's all great.
Simple things done well, but absolutely not well done.
Yeah.
No well done. Anyways, you guys, check out Chef Omar. He's a badass chef in the local community. His link is gonna be in the description to his socials. And I just highly encourage all of you guys to go over there, see everything he's got going on. Chefing in the local community. You can find out what restaurants on there. If you go to his page and message him, he'll message you back and tell you what's up. He's got some private events coming up that if you're in the area, you do not want to miss out on. Anyways, you guys, thank you so much for watching. Hope you all have a killer rest of your day.